Hi guys, so here we go with Wednesday's maths. The first question here is write the numeral, that's the number, 10,000,000, 10,000 and 10. Now this is the first time we've had tens of millions. So just for a minute we'll just treat it like it says 10 million. That would be a 10 followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. That would be 10 million. Okay, now the 10,000 part and the 10 part are what we have to look after here. So for the 10, we're not going to go to our units, we're going to go to this one here and change that for a 1, and that gives us 1 for our tens, and we need 1 in the 10,000s place as well. So this is units, tens, hundreds, thousands. This here would be 10,000s, so we can cross that out and put a 1 in there. Now what I'm doing here is not cheating. I'd much rather see you doing some rough work like this to work out where the numbers go instead of guessing them. So once we have it worked out like that, then we can write it out again, and we get 10, and we have a 0, 1, 0 and a 0, 1, 0. So that, if you read it out, is the numeral 10,000,000, 10,000 and 10. Number 2, we have two negative numbers here. We have a -2 or a -2, and we're adding on a -3 or a -3. So we're going to start at 0, and first of all we're going to go back 1, 2, and we're going to land on -2, and then we have to go back 1, 2, 3 more, and I want you to tell me what we land on here. Number 3, this one is tricky. I want you to watch how we do these. So halve 3, halve 1/3. That means find half of a third. So the way we do that with fractions is we multiply them. So we say 1 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 3. And on the top we're going to get a 1, and on the bottom we're going to get 6. So halve 1/3, half of a third is 1/6. And if we just look at that for a second, if we draw a circle and we divide it into 3 bits, okay, and these are thirds, this is a third, so is that, and so is that. If we cut each of those in half, what we end up now is with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So if I just do a different color there, this here, when we drew the circle first, this was 1/3 of the circle, and when we halve it like this, one of these is 1/6. So it makes sense. Okay, so halve 1/3 is 1 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 3, and that's 1/6. Number 4, it's 8:20 p.m. in Ireland and 10:20 p.m. on the same day in Egypt. What is the time difference? Now, whenever you hear difference, you know that you're doing subtraction. So we have 10:20 p.m. and we have 8:20 p.m. and we are going to subtract one of those from the other, and that will tell you what is the difference here in hours between Ireland and Egypt. Number 5, we have to write these in ascending order. Now ascending is going up. Okay, if this was a stairs and you were told to ascend the stairs, you'd be walking up, and if you were told to descend the stairs, you would be going down. Now we have to write these in ascending order, so starting with the smallest going up to the biggest. Now at the moment we've got tenths, quarters, halves and hundredths, and it can be very hard to compare those. So what I'd like to do is first of all turn those into percentages or decimals. So if we turn this one into a decimal, it would be 0.1 or 10%. If we turn this one 3/4, well, 1/4 is 25%, so 3/4 is 75%. A half is 50%, and 2 over 100 that's 2%. And when we write them like that as percentages, now it's very easy to see which one is the smallest and which one is the biggest. Now don't write in 2% here and 10% here. Write them in as they give you them on the question. So the smallest one, 2%, that's 2 over 100. Okay, and then you can fill the rest in as they get bigger. Number 6, if there are US 90 cents to €1, how many euro would you get for 180? Now, if you look at 180 here and this 90, if we double 90, we get 180. And if we doubled 90 cents, we'd get $1.80. So if we double this to get 180, we're going to double the euro here. And when you double the euro, you can put your answer in here. And that tells you how many euro you would get for US 180. Number 7, we have to round this to 2 decimal places. So this will be the last decimal. And this number here, the 3, tells us if this is going to go up or if it's going to stay the same. So this is going to be 5 point something something. The 8 will stay there, and the 3 here tells you if this 0 goes up or stays the same. Number 8, we have to name this 3D shape. Okay, now if you notice, it's on the front face, it's the shape of a pentagon. And I gave you a fancy word, and I showed you on the computer before. If we extrude, and extrude is the fancy word, if we extrude a 2D shape, we get a prism. Okay, so this shape is going to be, we put pentagon and prism together, and we end up with it. We have to change the word pentagon to a pentagonal. Pentagonal. That's a pentagonal prism. Okay, if we had a hexagon and we extruded that, this shape here would be a hexagonal prism. Okay, now number 9, 31, 34, 37 and 43. As always with these ones, we want to look at what is happening in between the numbers. So from 31 to 34 we add on 3, from 34 to 37 we add on 3. So we're going to add on 3 to get our number here, and as a final check we'll add 3 onto this number and see do we get 43. Number 10, we have to write 450 over 1,000 as a decimal. So we are going to put a 0 point, and it's thousandths. That means we need 3 decimal places, and we have to put 450 into those places there. Number 11, tick the correct value. It was 0 degrees Celsius. The temperature dropped by 5 degrees. So, did the temperature go to 5 degrees Celsius or -5? Remember, we're starting at 0 and we're dropping back 5. Okay, so where do we land on if we start at 0 and we go down or we drop backwards? We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, and it'll be a negative. Now number 12, 7y. Okay, when you see a number and a letter written beside each other in maths, so 7 and y, what that means in maths is 7 multiplied by y. But we don't write it like this because it gets very confusing, because this multiply sign here looks like an X. So that's why mathematicians write down 7 multiplied by another thing, as they just put the 2 beside each other. So 7 multiplied by something is equal to 35. So what do you multiply 7 by to get to 35? And that's your answer for y. Number 13, 2 numbers to add up here, and as long as we write them on top of each other and keep the decimal in the same place, we're going to get it right. So we'll have 5.541, and we will add on 2.038, Okay, keep the units under the units, decimal under the decimal, and if you do that and you follow your sum, then you're going to get it right. Now, the measurement at A, which is this spot here, okay, what is that? Well, first of all, we have to be careful on this one now because the units on our ruler is centimeters, and the answer they're looking for is in millimeters, and there's 10 millimeters in every centimeter. Now, we are not at 80 here, we are not at 90, we are halfway between them, we're right in the middle. So ask yourself, what comes between 80 and 90? Okay, and that's going to give you your answer in centimeters, but you're not finished because the question is looking for the answer in millimeters. So whatever number is halfway between 80 and 90 here, once you get that, you're going to have to add a 0 onto it because you'll be multiplying it by 10 because there's 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So that question there is actually quite tricky. Question 15, how many degrees has a quadrilateral? Okay, we know that a triangle has 3 angles and they always add up to 180 degrees. Now, any shape that you draw that has 4 sides is called a quadrilateral, and the angles in a quadrilateral always add up to, I'll give you a clue, it's the same number that there is if you do a full rotation of a circle. Okay, how many degrees are there in a full circle? It's the same answer for how many degrees there are in a quadrilateral. Number 16, how many faces has an octahedron? So if you find the octahedron in the back of the book and count up its faces, you'll have your answer there. Now, this is like one of the earlier questions. We're writing in ascending order, so starting with the smallest and getting bigger. And we've got a decimal, a percentage, a decimal, and a fraction. So the first thing we need to do here is write these all down as the same thing. So I would make 0.14 is 14%, 3% stays as 3%, 0.09 is 9%, and a quarter is 25%. Now it's very easy to see which is the smallest and which is the biggest, but don't write down the percentages here in your answers. If you want to write down the 3% one first, you'd write down 3%, it's the same thing there. But the next one would be 9%. And instead of writing 9%, we're going to write what they gave us in the question, which is 0.09. Number 18, a straight angle. Now remember, that's we draw a straight line and we pick a spot and we ask, what is this angle here? Okay. Now, one way to remember that is if we did a line straight up here, this is 90 degrees and this is 90 degrees, and two of those together make a straight angle. So what happens when you add 90 and 90? Number 19, what is the value of 9 in this? So it's not in the units, tens, hundreds, thousands or 10,000s. It's in the 100,000s place. So there's 9 of them and each of them was worth 100,000. So it's going to be worth 900,000. And the last one, 0.03 is equal to how many percent? Now when you see a decimal, what you can do is just the 0 and the point, whatever number comes after that, okay, whatever 2 digits come after that, that is your percentage. So this is going to be 0.3%, and we don't need to bother putting in the 0, so it's just 3%. Okay, so I hope you get on well with that today, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.